All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I am here to talk about the threat prevention topic area. Sound check in the back. You guys got me? Awesome. Threat prevention. This is the core mission of the department. I don't need to remind everybody, September 11th, why DHS ultimately became enacted. I'm going to provide some context as to the program that I oversee and how this ties into the threat prevention topic area. So I oversee our public safety and violence prevention portfolio. We aim to conduct social science research to help address the science and technology kind of requirements that have been identified across the Homeland Security enterprise. A lot of our work is tailored not just for our policy partners, but also for our operational partners. When I say operational, I'm thinking about our friends over at CISA, the Cybersecurity Information Security Agency. I'm talking about FEMA. I'm talking about ICE. Really, the individuals that the public are assumes from a DHS perspective as the more kind of front-facing individuals. The social science portfolio here really is focused on helping us understand what's working, what's not, and what's promising when we think about threat prevention and targeted violence. That has implications at a federal level with some of the work that DHS funds with community grants. That also has application down to the local level when we think about whether or not we're able to provide the necessary data, the tools, the capabilities that state and local programs practitioners are ultimately able to use when they're working with vulnerable individuals, vulnerable communities. So the threat prevention topic really is focused on helping us with those R&D kind of efforts to help improve detection, analysis, understanding, and mitigation of these threats. The keyword, one of the things I want to focus on that bullet right there is detection. We are not looking for investigative research. We've got friends over at the Office of Intelligence and Analysis that kind of handle some of the kind of intelligence aspects of this kind of body of work. From a research perspective, we want to understand those indicators, those risk indicators, if you will, that the researchers are seeing kind of play out, whether it be in an online space or whether it be in an offline space. So that's really what we mean by detection. We want to understand and mitigate these threats that are posed by terrorism and targeted violence, human trafficking, child sexual exploitation, and online disinformation. So there's a lot there. You've got the targeted violence piece. You've got, implications in terms of human trafficking, child sexual exploitation, the disinformation. It's all part of, it's all part of that, the threat prevention world that we work in. So when you kind of think about the rhetoric that is being pushed out in online spaces, you're seeing the prevalence of conspiracy theories. A lot of those conspiracy theories ultimately kind of, plant seeds in individuals' minds and kind of use that as a route for ultimately having these individuals kind of carry out said attacks. We want to understand those behaviors, those narratives, those indicators to help inform some of our policy and operational decision making that the department ultimately undertakes. We are looking at developing knowledge, tools, technologies to determine when individuals, groups, and movements are likely to engage in violence or illegal activity. Again, we are not asking for any sort of investigative research to be done that says, when you see what's happening out in the online space and, you got John and Jane Doe over here, that's not what we're interested in at all. But we are interested in developing the data, developing the capabilities that some of our practitioners ultimately need, and some of the tools that they need to ultimately help kind of support the interventions and the services that they ultimately provide. The topic is focused on, looking at ideological, organizational, and contextual factors that influence acts of violence, illegal activity, and kind of helps with target selection. And lastly, we want to build community resilience to public safety threats. We've got a picture here on the left-hand side. This is from the National Strategy for Countering Domestic Terrorism. This strategy was pushed out by the National Security Council back in June of 2022. I would highly encourage you to take a look at it because it really lays out what the U.S. government's approach is to the domestic violent extremist threats. I would also encourage you all to take a look at the department's Countering Terrorism and Targeted Violence Strategic Implementation Plan. While that one is a little bit dated, I believe it was November of 2019, but that strategic plan really provides an opportunity for you all to better understand what DHS is on the hook for in terms of supporting the broader threat prevention mission space. So when you are able to take a look at some of these national and department level strategic plans that are in the public domain, it should hopefully provide you with an understanding as to what the Homeland Security enterprise is focused on, so that you can use that to kind of help inform how to focus some of the research designs to kind of help DHS S&T ultimately support these national and department level goals and objectives that we have. As I said in the previous talk, we don't want to be prescriptive. We want to kind of open up these topic calls so that we can kind of capture some of the latest and greatest scientific kind of proposals that you all have. So we have an end goal in mind. We want to see how you guys can ultimately help us kind of arrive at that end goal. When you think about threat prevention and the social science kind of work that's underway, understanding how humans behave, interact, respond, that is extremely vital. So to be able to factor in some of these things into your research design is extremely critical for us. Again, with the social sciences, and when we're thinking about, ultimately understanding ideological motivations, when we're talking about developing knowledge and capabilities to help, prevention practitioners ultimately, deliver these services, there's a lot of hand-on interactions that are taking place with specific individuals. So to be able to incorporate human subjects protections, to incorporate privacy protections, is extremely important, especially for this body of space, because we want to make sure that individual privacy rights are maintained, but we also have very important research that needs to be done to ultimately help us understand and really ultimately help us kind of make that connection in terms of, what we're seeing kind of play out in the online space and what sort of implication that has in the offline kind of real world. So to be able to do that, we highly encourage, mixed method designs, utilization of, interviews, site visits where appropriate, focus groups where appropriate, in addition to, just collecting some of the data that's currently available out in the public domain that'll help inform some of our efforts. The portfolio has really kind of three main tenets. It's, do we have the data that we need to help inform our understanding? Again, not just from a policy perspective, but from an operational perspective as well. Data helps inform everything. Another key piece of the portfolio is focused on developing these capabilities. These capabilities do not have to be hardware or software. It could be something as assessment skills to help with the reintegration of vulnerable people back into the community. Another piece that's important to us is evaluation research. I said this earlier, but understanding what's working, what's not, and what's promising in this field is extremely important for us. So, headquarters, oversees the community grants that they issue. It's somewhere to the tune of about $20 million annually. So one of the efforts that we have underway right now is to evaluate the efficacy of said programs. You can see how that kind of ties into this broader topic call here, but I encourage you to kind of go back to some of those national and department level strategic priorities, because it should hopefully provide you with an idea as to those things that require S&T support. And again, looking at what industry is able to kind of put together in terms of research designs, the expertise and the experiences that you all are able to kind of bring together in a multidisciplinary kind of team to kind of help support some of these objectives that we ultimately have. So what are we hoping to get out of the threat prevention topic area at the end of the day? The keywords here that jump out to me is, rigorous, high quality data, independent and objective assessment. That is extremely critical and vital for us. We do not want to play a role in terms of, providing any sort of biases in the completion and execution of these research projects. So, we do want to take kind of a hands-off approach, especially as we kind of think about some of the evaluation research that is being undertaken, especially if it relates to efforts that the department or really even broader U.S. government is ultimately funding. We want to be able, as part of the threat prevention topic area, we want to be able to improve and understand the outcomes, impacts, and unintended consequences of investments in this space. There's a lot to take in there. We want to help improve outcomes. We do that by working with our policy folks to help ensure that data is incorporated into evidence-based police policymaking. The impacts, we want to work with our state and local partners. We want to work with practitioners that deliver these services to ultimately ensure that the capabilities and the tools that we are providing to them are making an impact, not just for them, but for the individuals that they service. And then we want to be cognizant of the unintended consequences as well. As part of the threat prevention topic space, it's important for us to kind of be ahead of the curve in terms of ensuring that we've got the most up-to-date scientific information from across the world. Terrorism does not know any borders. Some of the threats that we're facing here in the United States, more likely than not, it's a threat that's also shared by some of our international partners as well. So previously, I had talked about the importance of having letters of support from some of your partners. I would highly encourage including some of those in your all's applications. Again, while DHS are able to bring some of these communities and international governments, international players, domestic practitioners to the equation and to the table, we're also looking to see what sort of relationships and networks you all have to kind of add to the mix. Ensuring that we have the most up-to-date information and data is vital because, the data that we're able to collect is going to help inform kind of what these outputs ultimately look like. So, ensuring that there's rigor in terms of how industry's collecting the data, how you're analyzing the data, how you're putting in place the appropriate guardrails that, again, kind of protects private citizen First, Fourth, Privacy Act requirements is extremely vital. This has been, when you think about the threat prevention space and kind of the topics that we're kind of focused on, terrorism, targeted violence, human trafficking, these sometimes, have a lot of political and media sensitivities associated with it. So it's a topic area that has a lot of attention, not just from within the Science and Technology Directorate, but also from across the department, folks on the Hill, and really the general public. So ensuring that those guardrails are in place, especially for this topic area, is probably the most important thing that I would want you all to kind of walk away with from this spiel today. So ensuring that some of these institutional review board reviews are baked into your research design, ensuring that we're able to collect data in a means that will allow for the protection of individual data from going out. How are we able to utilize some of the the best practices in the social science realm to kind of help inform our understanding of what's working, what's not, and what's promising in this field ultimately really stands out for us. So I've got 3 links here to kind of help you understand, what resources are currently available out there to give you at least an idea as to, what S&T is doing in the threat prevention space. The first link is for the website that houses all of the outputs from the Public Safety and Violence Prevention Program that I mentioned earlier. I spoke about some of the national and department level strategic plans that are currently out in the public domain. I would highly encourage you all to take a look at that, because when you're able to kind of review kind of what the goals and objectives are, not just from a White House US government perspective, but also from the department, and then you take a look at that public safety and violence prevention link, hopefully you'll be able to see how all of the outputs that have come out of the program can immediately be tied back to some of the objectives that have been identified in these national and department level strategic plans. So taking a look to see, some of the work that's already been done in the space, so that you have an understanding as to, how these knowledge products, how these evidence kind of synthesis reports, what it ultimately looks like at the end of the day, hopefully should give you an understanding as to the types of outputs that we're looking for here. The second link there is for the department's Prevention Resource Finder, the PRF. The PRF was rolled out, I want to say about 18 months ago, and it's a one-stop shop for everyone in the United States to take a look at, so that they're able to better understand all of the prevention support services that are available to them. The PRF is very expansive. There's a lot in there, but there's also there's a specific section in there focused on evidence-based research. That's where our portfolio and the work that's being done under this threat prevention topic area ultimately kind of feeds into the department's prevention kind of mission and kind of remit here. Lastly, the third link is for the University of Omaha. The University of Omaha became a center of excellence, I want to say back in 2020, that is specifically focused on counterterrorism and threat prevention research. So the link here provides some of the research outputs that the center has already undertaken. And again, a lot of that research can immediately be tied back to some of those national and department level strategic priorities. So when you take a look at these three links, you take a look at the national and the department level kind of strategic priorities. We want to ensure there's no duplication of effort. We want to ensure that, if there's something that's already been pushed out in some of these channels, we don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel and just redo some of the studies here. But when we think about, new attacks that are taking place, or new indicators of violence that we need to be cognizant of to kind of help kind of thinking about how we bring some of that new data into the mix in terms of helping us understand some of the policy and operational decision-making that's done, because we want the research to, kind of play out into practice. We want the research, the evidence, the data to inform, how, our Office of Intelligence and Analysis and their auditors and their analysts, how they go about doing some of their work with a backing of some of the research to help inform some of their activities. We want our policy folks to understand what the research is saying, so that they have an evidence base that they can pull from to help inform new policy investments, new policy decisions that are being made in this space. And we want to work with our international partners as well, so that, we're able to kind of compare and contrast notes in terms of some of the vulnerabilities that we are seeing here that they might not necessarily be seeing there as well. I had it up on the last slide, but maintaining objectivity and independence in this topic area is extremely important for us. So, please kind of keep that in mind when you're thinking about submitting applications here. Ensuring that it's tied back to, a need that DHS has in the space is extremely vital and important for us. We're dealing with budget cuts, so it's important for us to be narrow in scope in terms of what exactly it is that we are hoping to achieve with this research study. But we also want to make sure that we've got all of our ducks in a row in terms of better understanding, all of those different variables that come into play in the execution of said research in a study in mind. So, helping us understand all of the necessary inputs that play into that research design, understanding, what sort of data we need to collect to understand, how to help us understand and measure, whether or not things are working the way they need to be working, is extremely critical for us as well. So to be able to incorporate some of these different data collection methods into support of your research design is extremely valuable for us. I said it earlier in the tech acceptance piece. I'm going to say it again. We want to stress and promote kind of mixed method designs. What are the qualitative, quantitative data elements that we can kind of be able to collect to kind of help inform kind of our broader understanding in the threat space. I don't see this topic area going away anytime soon unless terrorism is no longer an issue for us. I don't think that, we're going to get there, unfortunately. So it's important for us to be able to leverage the tools that are available to you all that might not necessarily be available to us. Leveraging the advancements in AI and ML to kind of help inform, kind of what we're seeing in the online, offline space. Again, we don't want to be prescriptive and tell you how to get us to that desired end goal. We are reliant on you to kind of come to us with some of these unique capabilities that you might have available to you all to kind of help us understand and answer some of these Homeland Security questions that we have. I'm going to wrap up a little bit early here as well. If you've got any questions, you've got the poll that's making its way around right now. Otherwise, look forward to receiving any sort of applications that you all are looking to submit in this topic space. Thank you again for the time.